Welcome back, Patriots, for a special edition of the Bald Brad Show, where we're covering the George Stephanopoulos Joe Biden interview live here in about 40 minutes. I believe they pushed it back a 30. Hell, they've even pushed it back multiple days, but we got a couple hundred people on Twitter, folks. Great having you with us. Hit that follow button. We got a lot of people over at Rumble. We got a lot of people over at YouTube. This is how we're going to do it, folks. We have to do commentary in between the interview, or else we're going to get taken down from YouTube and other platforms. I think Rumble will keep us up. I think Twitter, also known as X, will keep us up. But YouTube and potentially a lawsuit might come through from ABC. So we're going to do commentary throughout it. If that's not your vibe, totally get it. The interview will be live on ABC, which we are already streaming right now. We're just waiting for the live interview to come up in just one moment. That's going to take place again at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, which is what we're dealing with here on the West Coast. But we're going to make sure that we're going to stream it live for all of you right over here on the Bald Brad platform. If you're not already a subscriber or a viewer, we go live every single morning, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, covering all the news, giving you a conservative perspective, and heck, a little bit of a reactionary perspective. Let's go over some big headlines that are happening right now in real time, folks, where Democrat Representative Eric Swalwell is suffering from another one of his frequent delusions where he says President Trump is, quote, the person who should be stepping down amid the scandal around crooked Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline. It's a remarkable spin here that's happening with a lot of Democrats. Let's hear it in real time.
It's a little late, Chris, in the election season for a party's presumptive nominee to step down. But I'm going to call on one of the nominees to do that right here. Donald Trump should step aside. He's a convicted felon, judged a rapist, owes hundreds of millions of dollars for fraud, tried to run a coup on his country. There are people in this country who are less cruel and more competent, who could do the job, probably 350 million deep. And so that's the person who should be stepping down. Joe Biden needs to show a hell of a lot more, and his staff needs to start telling a lot less and getting the president out there, and he needs to do that yesterday, not tomorrow. It's a little late, Chris.
Pretty remarkable stuff coming from not just the media, but also the Democrat Party. We've talked a lot about this on our show, where you're seeing an entire movement right now where the Democrat Party is slowly taking their foot off the gas now because it seems like Joe Biden's going to stay in the race. It seems like Joe Biden's not going to leave. When you get down, you get back up, is what he said, right? So this guy's not going to get out. Hunter Biden and Jill Biden said there's no way in hell over his dead body is he going to get out of that. So he's going to stay in the race. And some people are asking me here in the chat, is it bad to wish this goes basically horribly bad for Biden? Not really. I mean, look, we don't wish death upon anybody, and that's not what we're talking about. Joe's already dead. So Joe's not with us. Joe hasn't been with us for quite a long time. I mean, hell, even the G7 people see it, right? I mean, that's Joe wandering off during the G7 meeting in Normandy, where he has to get chauffeured around. If you notice, it's somebody else chauffeuring him around. It's not Hunter right here. It's not Jill, because they weren't invited. That's why. There's always a handler for Joe. And so it's going to go well. At the end of the day, this interview is going to go well. I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I'm a MAGA supporter. I voted for Donald Trump in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. This interview is going to go well. They chose George Stephanopoulos for this interview for a reason. This guy is a freaking Democrat through and through. I believe he was the person in charge of communications for the Clintons, and now he's with ABC. This is edited. This was not done live, even though that's how they're telling us it's been done. They've already pushed it back many times here. So this is damage control for Joe Biden. They chose this person for a specific reason. This is the best that Joe's going to look in a long time, you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Joe multiple takes to answer the questions over again. And I got a little bit of some exclusive clips for you from this interview that's going to be happening tonight. So why don't we jump into a few of those? This first one is where we have a question. Did you ever watch the debate afterwards? And Biden said, it's a remarkable answer, I don't think I did. Like, you don't know if you did or didn't watch a debate afterwards? Well, I'm not sure, man. I can't remember. Oh my God. Here we go. Here's the receipts.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, nobody else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night.
Hey, maybe it won't be as bad as we thought it would be. Maybe George Stephanopoulos is going to push back a little bit. Oh, I had this and that going on, all these excuses, but hey, it's just explanations. They're not excuses themselves. Yeah, but man, you were gone the first question. I mean, you weren't even there, Joe. Well, it's just a bad night. Really? Because just the other day, 24 hours ago, you were conflating Christmas and the 4th of July together. Did anybody else see that clip where Joe Biden starts off going, ho, 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 happy Independence Day? You want to know why he probably did that? The guy didn't know what holiday it was. He sees a bunch of red out there on the stage. He sees a bunch of blue and a little bit of white, and he kind of goes, well, it's either one of two holidays. I can't believe it. It's either 4th of July or Christmas. Let's just put them together as a safe mode and see if nobody notices. So, folks, we got over 300 people watching us over at Twitter. We got a bunch of people watching over at Rumble and YouTube all at the same time. If you're following, love you to death. If you're not following, what are you doing? We have a show every single morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, bringing you the news just like you're seeing right here, right now. Well, Joe Biden was also asked, was your humiliating debate a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition? So we're giving you a little bit of an exclusive before we actually get into the thing itself. Here we go.
Debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night. But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked if they did a COVID test because they're trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
Let's start with...
Dude, the reason why I have this reaction, that completely contradicts what... Karine Jean-Pierre was saying from the White House press briefing on Wednesday, where it was explicitly asked, did he get checked out by a doctor? And she said no, which is odd because you're saying, he had the cold, he had the sniffles, this or that, not feeling well, but it wasn't COVID. But how do you know it wasn't COVID if you weren't ever checked out by the doctor in the first place? Well, it just confirms that she lied to all of us. I know none of us are shocked here because we cover almost every White House press briefing, but it is an astonishing thing here that there's a constant theme from this White House press secretary to pretend like she doesn't know anything, read answers from her binder that never seem to give us answers to questions that were proposed, and that she's constantly lying to the American public's faces about everything in the same way her boss, Joe Biden, does. But it's a remarkable statement from the clip that we just saw previously that Joe Biden says, oh, well, Donald Trump lied 28 times, and I just couldn't fathom that. It's not a normal debate when the guy lies. Really? Because, Joe, you did nothing but lie, and then you had the balls a day later to come out during a campaign rally, if that's what you want to call it, with a teleprompter, and say, oh, you know what? I know how to tell the truth. Joe Biden comes out, this is real, I drove 18-wheelers. You didn't drive 18-wheelers, Joe. You never drove trucks for a living. I was an activist for black people, and I went on the streets with Dr. King. No, you didn't. You never were an activist. There's video of you saying that you weren't an activist because you got caught with your pants down, I don't know, a while ago. So if you're waiting here, folks, I'm waiting along with you. We are just waiting for the critical moment of the actual interview itself. It will be live, folks, in about 30 minutes. Exclusive interview airs at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as you see on your screen. We hear it's going to be a 30-minute time slot. I mean, that's all Joe can really give is 30 minutes because lately he's been doing 4-minute speeches, 6-minute speeches, and then they're supposed to be, ranting and raving over there at the Democrat Party. Wow, look how a Joe can go so long for. While Donald Trump's doing full rallies over there. Unbelievable. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us over at the Twitters, the X's, as well as we're growing on Rumble here. Rumble is now our main home because they are a home of free speech, folks. We got hundreds of people watching the Bald Brad Show. Some of you are asking me to post the clip, show the receipts for Joe Biden saying ho, ho, ho. We got you covered. Give me one moment while we look that up for all of you. We got a lot of clips to show you because Joe Biden also did a speech today, which we'll see if we can get to all those clips before we actually jump into the live itself. We will be live tomorrow for a little bit covering the news with you. Make sure you see that. And the way to get that stream is, if you follow. So let me find that clip for you real quick here, the ho, ho, ho clip. And here it is for you. I knew I'd get to it very quickly. Here's Joe, not knowing what holiday it is, and saying, ho, 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 happy Independence Day.
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
It's too good. You guys want to hear it again? Oh, absolutely. I'll take care of you. No worries. Let's hear it, Joe.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's the president. That's the guy that's running the show, allegedly. That's the guy that's pulling all the strings. None of us believe it. So Joe Biden's being chauffeured out on a gurney by the Democrat Party for the last few days. He's still not doing anything really past 8 o'clock, which is why I believe this interview with George Stephanopoulos, even though it's airing at 8:30, they probably did it around noontime a few days ago. Again, this is a recorded interview. And as I've mentioned, this is going to be Joe Biden at his best current time. They couldn't have picked more of a friendly person to Joe Biden, the Democrat Party, than George Stephanopoulos himself, which is why they're doing the interview with him. So if you got any questions for me, throw them in the Rumble, throw them in the chat itself. Some people are asking, do you think Donald Trump should be doing a second debate with Joe Biden? My answer is no, and let me tell you why. Joe Biden, the bar is set so low for him that there is no lower to go. All he has to do in any debate going forward is just show up, answer a few questions without fumbling or mumbling or forgetting any sort of data out there, and he automatically wins. Donald Trump has to have a perfect night, regardless of whether it happens in the debate. There's no middle ground for Donald Trump, and there's no middle ground for Joe Biden. Well, I guess there is some middle ground for Joe Biden. He just has to show up. So even if Donald Trump has another perfect night, the dude even has a better night than the last debate, the issue is that Joe Biden, the bar is so low. I mean, it was low before. Now it's even lower to where the dude just has to show up and make it through an hour debate. So that's where we're at. There's no real positive of Donald Trump doing another debate. The only positive that could come out of it, I guess, is that Joe Biden does screw up and that he drops out of the race. But then you get a whole nother flub of, well, he's dropping out. Who's going to be the person that's going to be the nominee? You got to figure out all the records. You got to look through the state laws. And then you have a massive bleep storm. There is potentially, I guess, an October surprise where he does drop out because we have another couple debates allegedly now coming up. So we'll see. But I don't think Donald Trump should do another debate. And what's the messaging from his team? The messaging is, Look, we saw what happened with Joe in the first debate. I think it was rough for a lot of the American people to see a president go through something like that. We know that the president is not fit to run for the office again. We know he's not able to carry out his duties. Look at everything coming out from his aides. Look at all the leaked documents, his leaked schedule. We know that he is not fit to hold office. We know Donald J. Trump is going to make America great again. Joe Biden shouldn't run. And quite frankly, we don't want to put the man up to it. We don't think it's right that his family's chauffeuring him out, treating him like that. We don't want to treat the president like that. We don't think he's up to it. So we're just going to wait off until the election. And Donald Trump is going to sit there and make America great again. You know, something along that. I'm not the PR guy, right? I'm just some dude in a closet with a camera and a microphone trying to bring the news to all of you with a conservative spin to all this. So if you're not a conservative Republican, that's A-okay. We got a lot of independents that do watch the show. More than happy to have you here with us. Again, we'll be covering the George Stephanopoulos interview live with President Joe Biden. It's not live. As I mentioned, it is pre-recorded, but you know, you take what you can get with Joe. We got 400 people over at Twitter watching us. We got another couple hundred over at Rumble. We got another few people. How many people we got over here? Jesus. I think in totality, man, we're running like 500-600 people watching this live. Couldn't be more than happy to have all you patriots with us. Well, today, Joe did a bunch of rambling again, and they chauffeured this guy out for a rally. Can you believe it? Joe actually did a rally today. Joe did something in his normal working hours of 4 and 6. Sorry, that would be 10 and 4. He says he'll work till 6. So here he is with vigor and intensity showing up for his rally.
Continue to watch the president's here. I mean, looks a little light on his feet right there. Continue to watch the president's here. I mean, looks a little light on his feet right there.
It bugs me, and does it bug anybody else that he does like that little pep walk? Like he's in between running and jogging, but he doesn't do it for really any reason other than the fact to show that he has some sort of stamina. But it's weird that he just kind of like jogs and then he stops, and he does it at awkward times. I correlate it to, you know, when somebody's waiting for you at a stop sign and you have the social awareness to pick up on the fact that, hey, you're going a little bit slow, and maybe it's a nice thing to be responsible and maybe jog a little bit so that the other guy's not waiting at the stop sign for you to take your sweet ass time to cross the street. That's basically what Joe Biden's doing here. So Joe Biden shuffles on stage, and just like Karine Jean-Pierre, the dude's an hour late to his own rally. Now, I'm sure Donald Trump's been late to his own rallies, but the thing is that Donald Trump was actually known to be on time for a lot of things. Joe Biden, his entire administration, is known to be late all the time. Again, we cover every single White House press briefing here, and Karine Jean-Pierre is chronically known to be late to her own press briefings by 15, 30 minutes all the time. So here he is showing up late. All right, we got to mute it because we're going to sit there and we're going to get flagged by YouTube because YouTube hates us. Unbelievable, huh? That's why we're over Rumble, folks. That's why Rumble's our home. That's why we're on Twitter. Careful, you're going to freaking kill the guy. Joe, we need you for another 4 years. We need you to destroy the country. Jeez Louise. Can you believe it? People want 4 more years of this guy. People want 4 more years of Joe Biden. Oh, my God. So he comes out. And then he starts immediately losing it. Like the first words out of his mouth. Watch this.
You've got a former governor, Jim Doyle, Madison Road, mayor of this city.
Folks, this is the first part of the speech, and it's a teleprompter. He's not even going off the cuff, and he can't do it. Here it is again.
You've got a former governor, Jim Doyle, Madison Road, mayor.
People are like, hell yeah, man. Oh, God, we're done. We're finished. I've always said, look, there's some pretty insane statistics in politics, like Joe Biden taking more vacation time than any sitting president in American history. But there's also the fact that Joe Biden has never won against this teleprompter. That's the most insane statistic in all of politics. The fact that Joe Biden's teleprompter has never lost. We talk about it every day in our opener. That thing at the end of its term needs to be in a retirement home just like Joe Biden does, but needs like a heavyweight championship belt like it just won a UFC title for being undefeated against Joe Biden for 4 years. Again, if you're just joining us, folks, we are waiting for the interview to take place. It's going to be happening in about 20 minutes, so they say, but it is ABC News and they did pay for the slot, so most likely it is going to happen in exactly 20 minutes, and we will be bringing you the interview live. Please know that we need to do commentary in between potentially, or I need to be talking sometimes. So there'll be some reactions, but we have to do that because we're going to get flagged and copyrighted, and I can't afford any lawsuits here. We're not beholden to any corporation, folks. I'm just some random dude in my closet with a camera and a microphone. So please understand that. We're not like the Daily Wire or like Louder with Crowder and all that crazy stuff. We do have quite a bit of following. We got 60,000 plus, almost 62,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're growing over at Rumble. We're on the Twitter. Folks, we are growing. Make sure that you join us right now as we're a grassroots movement. We will always be a grassroots movement because I don't want to be beholden to anybody other than God himself. So Joe Biden says, we're going to protect our children from getting weapons of war off the streets, which is funny because he also just said literally today that he's never going to touch your weapons. You're probably going to hear that echoed in the actual interview itself, but here's Joe Biden saying, we're going to take your guns.
We're going to protect our children from getting weapons of war off our streets. That's what we're going to do. We're going to protect our
weapons of war. Now, I'm not a veteran, but we got a lot of veterans that watch the show because, hell, we love our veterans. We love our military here, just like Trump does. Weapons of war. A knife is a weapon of war. And you hear Joe Biden talk a lot about, hey, we're going to get rid of assault weapons, whatever the hell that means. But we do know what that means. Joe Biden has come out and said what that means. He's been very clear that that's all semi-automatic firearms. Guess what? That's every weapon out there now. So that's what Joe Biden and the Democrat Party want to do if they're reelected. They want to go after your guns in the same way, kind of like Trump went after bump stocks, which I didn't agree with. I'm a hardcore Second Amendment advocate, by the way. I'm probably more hardcore than a lot of conservative Republicans are. I think everybody should be strapped and loaded. Now, there are some caveats to that, but there's Joe Biden basically saying he wants to take away your guns without saying he wants to take away your guns. It's weird because some moments he's super clear about it, and other moments he isn't. Let me give you another example that's not correlated to guns. He says that, oh, well, we need to take care of these illegal immigrants. But then in other areas, he says he wants to do full-blown amnesty, like full-blown. The quote was in a synopsis, in a summary, saying, well, we need to allow all the people that came in illegally prior to my administration and during my administration to have amnesty and have a pathway to citizenship. Well, that's about 30 million people. That's more than the population of half our states. And we know through basically research and studies through statistics that these people are first-time voters for the Democrat Party and tend to lean Democrat through their lives as citizens of America, if that's what you want to call it. So he's slurring again, and some people are saying he's medicated here, but he brings up this idea of suckers and losers. This is a guy that just the other day said that he only tells the truth, and he knows that he should run for office because he can tell the truth, but yet this has already been debunked. It was debunked 7 years ago, but it was also debunked last week by Snopes. Here we go.
He called veterans who gave their lives serving America, and I was just in Normandy and on the beaches of Normandy and all through that area. And he said, I have trouble saying this because my son died as a consequence of Iraq. Who gave their lives, he called them, quote, suckers and losers. By the way, I'll be damned. I'm glad I wasn't with him because I'll be damned to let him talk about my son that way. He called veterans.
This was today. You can't even hear the guy. You guys, I can't turn the audio up any higher. So I wasn't adjusting it. He goes like really low and he starts like whispering, like, I'm going to sniff your children. I'm going to go sniff your children. Like he just starts screaming, kind of like he did at the State of the Union where he's just yelling at everybody. So he's saying the sucker and losers. It was a hoax. And his reasoning was, well, because a 4-star general said so. Well, there's a lot of people that say insane things that don't like Donald Trump and didn't like the decisions that he made, especially when it goes against our intelligence apparatus, especially when it goes against, a lot of things that the deep state believes in. And so, of course, there are going to be people that go out against him. But there was a lot of people that were there that said that's not the context that it was utilized. And hell, by the way, that wasn't even what was said. But he's going to take one guy out of like 20 people that support Donald Trump. He's going to take that one guy and utilize that as ammo. Well, he's a 4-star general, so we should believe everything he says. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a common theme with the Democrat Party that like to use outliers as a whole data set to summarize basically data itself. That's exactly what you're seeing here. So Biden's confused again. Folks, I bring this up and I keep saying he's confused. He's lost. He's mumbling. Because the whole messaging that's been coming out from the White House was he's going to prove to the American people he's fit. He has to change the public perception. We're going to get him out there to do all these interviews, which is why they did the George Stephanopoulos interview. But that's also why they had him on the campaign trail with his teleprompter and trying to look all spunky, which he didn't. So here he is, confused again, you guys. This is all the same speech.
By the way, I couldn't ponder. I guess I shouldn't say it. By the way, I couldn't be prouder to have your support and the support of our great Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. By the way, I couldn't.
Dude, he don't know where he's at. Mind you, everything he's doing is with a teleprompter, other than this interview. But this interview, I guarantee you, not only did they give him something, I guarantee you they probably did it at the prime spot throughout the day of which he's at his best. And we know that they're being very selective on when they're chauffeuring Joe out. They've been doing it for the last 2.5 years. I mean, reporting's been coming out from Axios and other outlets early on, 2.5 years ago, from his own White House aides, saying that he was only working before it was from 9 to 4. Then they changed it. The going one is 10 to 4 right now. But we've heard rumors, this was 2 years ago, that Joe was really only working from noon to 4 p.m. and that he was still requesting more sleep. And we know that he's been sleeping a lot because they'll pull him out of the residency in the White House and he still has CPAP machine marks on his face. Joe Biden is sleeping in a suit in the residency or in a recliner, and that whenever they got to puppet this guy out, they unstrap his oxygen tank, his CPAP machine, and said, Joe, we got to get you out there, buddy. People are waiting. And so they chauffeur him out, and it's exactly what you get. This guy asked for, after the debate, he's asking for more sleep time with his aides. He said he can't do it. Doesn't that give credibility, Joe, that maybe you shouldn't run again? The fact that you're asking for more sleep now, and we've seen the decline from you since 2019 till now. So here he is, the same speech saying 5 billion, trillion, not billion, 5 trillion. Holy Lord.
Now he's announced he wants another $5 billion, trillion, not billion, $5 trillion tax cut. Now
I've seen this clip, and I almost spit out my coffee just now. Oh, that's the president. That's the guy that's running the country. Makes sense why everything's going down the dumpster. Makes sense why your grocery bill's up 40%. Makes sense why gas prices are up 30%. Makes sense that this or that is taking place because you got a guy that can't even sit there and read from a teleprompter correctly. Look, my head's not on straight all the time, but hell, I do an hour-long show. We could go for 4 hours long covering the news like you're seeing here in real time. I ain't that sharp, but hell, I'll tell you what, I know a lot of 81-year-olds that are a lot sharper than Joe Biden. There's a lot of actors that make their way through, and everybody's looking just fine. We all see what's going on. We can see through the smoke. Folks, if you're just joining us, again, we are waiting for the George Stephanopoulos interview. We will be streaming it live here on the Bald Brad channel. It's streaming out anywhere else, but you want to be here because we got a community of patriots that love to hang out with other patriots, independents, and Republicans. We are a grassroots outlet, if you want to call it that. Really, it's just me and a fellow patriots here in the live chat with all of you. I see Sweet Sunset. I see Verjant. I see Patrick Troll. Hey, I always see Patrick Troll. I mix Patrick. I sound like Joe Biden. Ho, 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 4th of July. Patriotic Troll. I see Patrick in the chat. I see Lily B. I see Come On Man. Somebody must have changed their name. That's funny. That's a Joe Biden reference right there. We got a lot of people over at Rumble. A few hundred people over at Rumble. We got about 300 people over at Twitter. We got another 400 or 500 over at Twitter, folks. We are running big time here. So again, we are just waiting for this freaking interview, man. It's going to be wild. Joe Biden's going to lie. So we'll see. That's a shoo-in, right? We should have done bingo tonight. Whenever we do these live events, sometimes we generally do bingo where we'll bring up immigration, right? They're going to bring up Joe Biden's successes, if there is none. And they're going to bring up, obviously, the debate. And that's going to be a lot of it. So this 30 minutes is basically to show the American people that Joe Biden is fit to hold office, which he is not. There's no way in hell. You got to love also the fact that the media, right? How could you do this, Joe? How could you lie to the American people about your cognitive decline? We've been covering it for 3 years every week. I mean, for a long time, Bald Brad Show viewers, you used to see me get pissed in the White House press briefings, begging the reporters to ask about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Folks, I have even reached out to the reporters in the room because some of them do watch the show, no matter how small we are. And I've asked them, why is nobody questioning the president or hell, his White House press secretary about his cognitive decline? Nobody is willing to do it. It was like just something everybody's like, nah, it's too crazy. It's too disrespectful. It's not right. So here we are. So it's funny because the media are acting all surprised, like, oh my God, can you believe it? Can Can you believe it? The president is not with us. The president is not being coherent. He's slurring through his words. Well, yeah, I can believe it. Because I've watched this guy fall up a flight of stairs, hit a golf ball backwards, look for dead people in the crowd. He converses with dead people. Joe Biden is so close to death that he's teetering between realms of the spiritual realm and the physical realm to the point where he can now see dead people that have been gone for 40 years. He's not just hearing them, he's seeing them as well. He's taking photos with people at events that were never there in the first place. I still, after 2 years, I can't figure that one out. Yes, you heard that correctly. Joe Biden said he's doing photo ops with specific people at specific events, yet the people weren't even in the same state as him when supposedly these events took place. This guy, yes, did hit a golf ball backwards, but yet his handicap is what, like 6 or something? Furthermore, this guy falls off his bicycle standing stationary, trips over a sandbag at a graduation ceremony, and can't get himself up. He actually needs help with it. The dude's taking the short staircase to Air Force One. We finally got an update on that one. They have him taking the big staircase now because they need to show him that he's a big boy. You know, he's the big guy, folks. He's the big guy. He also takes 10% cut on whatever Hunter Biden brings in. This dude is the worst president in American history, folks. We always say it. He doesn't have his head on straight. And I think there's a lot of people that can get behind that, the fact that Joe Biden's not with us. So hopefully you guys are having a grand old time hanging out with us here on the Bald Brad channel. Again, we are hosting live on Twitter. We're hosting live on Rumble as well as the YouTube. If you want to hit us a follow, we would greatly appreciate it, especially on Twitter. We're really active over there, always updating you with clips on how bad Joe Biden is. But the main hub is Rumble itself. Rumble is doing us a lot of love and a lot of care. Shib says they can't report on what's in front of them with Joe, but can find a conspiracy theory if Trump blinks. Absolutely correct. We always say if Trump doesn't pay a parking ticket on time, grand jury. I mean, really, that's not too far off. I mean, obviously it's a joke and it's facetious, right? But the fact that they sat there and got the guy for a misrepresentation of paperwork is truly a mind-boggling thing, considering we've seen the actual receipts of checks coming in from China into Joe Biden's brother's business bank account, hell, even to his private account, and then transferring that check into Joe Biden's bank account. How did Joe Biden get $2.3 million, say, from China, Romania, or Ukraine? How did Joe Biden get another 3.5 from China, Romania, and Ukraine? I don't know which ones were divided up. But you're telling me this guy, a career politician, where's all this money coming from? All his shell companies that have associated business fraud on them? Like these flags that the banks are giving them for fraud detection, you will never see in your lifetime. I'm going to say that again because a lot of people may have not heard this before. Joe Biden has so many risks associated, like fraudulent risks associated to his companies and his accounts through the bank, that this guy has 120 of them. You won't even see one of those in your lifetime. You probably won't even meet somebody in your lifetime that has that type of risk associated to their accounts. But he's the most cleanest president that's ever existed, you guys. He's fit to hold office. He's sharp, like you just heard from Karine Jean-Pierre literally the other day. She said the guy was sharp when she was questioned by Philip Wegman of Real Clear Politics. But, you know, we're the threat to democracy, you guys, not Joe Biden. No, he said it here again during today's campaign. He said that there is a threat. So Joe Biden, Crooked Joe, says he's going to exile Donald Trump if he's reelected. Oh, it's not playing. Let me see if we can fix that for all of you. There we go. All right, we got to set up. My bad. Here we go.
So let's stand together, win this election, and exile Donald Trump politically. So let's stand together.
Why does he want to exile Donald Trump? Because this guy is shouting and ranting and raving that we're all a threat to democracy. Yes, all of us. If you're watching this show, if you're not a Democrat, well, you're not a threat to democracy according to Joe Biden. But if you are a MAGA supporter, this just came out from Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security. So listen up. If you are a MAGA supporter, if you've ever served in the military, and I'm choosing my words very wisely here, or are religious, you are deemed under Joe Biden's advisory board of the Department of Homeland Security to be a terror risk in your own country. Let that one sink in. Yes, that is not fake news. That is real. His own Department of Homeland Security. And guess who was on the board? John Brennan and a few other people that signed on to the letter that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real, which we know shifted about 17% of the vote, or would have shifted 17% of the vote, rather, from Joe Biden. Not saying those people would have necessarily voted for Donald Trump, but they wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden if they knew that it was real. But again, the media, they're all confused that Joe Biden's, whoa, hey, he's not with us. What's happening here? They're all spooked all of a sudden. It's a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry to cuss, but it is. And that's the best word to use right now because they're lying to all of us in front of our faces. And quite frankly, they're getting away with it, which is really an astonishing thing that they're putting all of it on Joe. but a lot of it should also be put on them as well. And nobody's really going after them. So here's Joe saying, I won't forget this.
I won't forget this. God love you.
Really, Joe? Because you couldn't remember from the exclusive that we just watched from the George Stephanopoulos clip that you weren't sure if you watched the debate again after the debate. Really? Like, how does this guy not remember anything? Remember, the Robert Hur deposition video and audio still hasn't been given out, which is a really weird thing because, which we're probably not going to see it at all because Republicans don't have a freaking spine, but it gave credibility to the fact that Joe Biden wasn't with us. But we were all conspiracy theorists for 3.5 years. Everybody in here, the 1,000 people in here, you're all conspiracy theorists according to Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. Everything you saw with your own eyes, as you just saw from last week from Karine Jean-Pierre, they're all cheap fakes. They're all deep fakes. They're not real. Well, no, they were real. Yes, they were edited because we're not going to show you an hour-long film of something and just sit there and wait for Joe Biden to fall asleep during an interview, which he's done before. I think that was 60 minutes. He's also fumbled through every single thing he's gone through in terms of questions. So it's really a remarkable thing here that we're seeing from the media. Now, we've said, here's the strategy. So everybody listen up. This is the strategy of the media. Joe Biden's going to be chauffeured out over this next month of July. He's going to be doing strategic interviews. They're going to be edited. They're going to make Joe Biden look good. He's going to do a debate with Donald Trump, okay? In this debate, he's going to sit there and basically not fumble through his words. How is he going to do that? The media, not the media, his advisors, the people that were with him, those 16 people, aren't going to load him up with a bunch of facts, okay? They're going to keep it simple. He's not going to have to remember anything as much. And he's going to sit there and just be very, very short, very quick, to the point, very holistic view, very broad, not specific. And that's how he's going to get through the next debate with Donald Trump. All of a sudden, he looks good again. Media's persona, wow, it really was just a one-off. It was just a little episode. We all have it, don't we? This or that. And they're going to swing back in favor of Joe Biden, knowing that he's not going to leave the race. They have to support him because the media hate Donald Trump. The media will do anything they possibly can to get that guy not reelected again. And so now you will see the shift. Give it a couple weeks or less. They're going to shift back to Joe Biden because they have nobody else. They have to do it. They want to do it. So if you're just joining us, again, we are waiting for the actual interview to take place. It should happen in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We have it queued up here for you, as you can see in real time. Hopefully, we don't get taken down by YouTube. If we do, we're over at Rumble. Make sure you go follow us over there. And we are on Twitter. Would love your follow there as well. We are active on all platforms. Just waiting. Just waiting. George Stephanopoulos. God bless that guy. Jeez Louise. Somebody like, oh, God bless him. Well, what else are we going to say? Been taking too much Biden nose candy. He gets his nose candy from his son. It's an endless supply. There's so much supply that they actually found some in the White House. Isn't it amazing? We still don't even know who that was from. We don't know. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So Biden asks, where am I going? Again, the whole purpose of everything you're seeing from Joe from here on out is to show that he's able, he's fit, okay? That he doesn't get confused, that he knows where he's going. Here he is, not knowing where he's going. So we got to pause it. We got to mute it. There, oh, where am I? Where am I going? Where? This way? Oh, there he is. The freaking jog again, man. Joe, it doesn't, somebody needs to tell the guy just to stop doing it because it doesn't do him any favors. It actually makes him look worse. Here he is, you guys, he's confused again. This is all the same rally that we're getting all these clips from. Here he is again, completely confused. No, not knowing what's going on. Oh, what? Deer in the headlights, man. Deer in the headlights. Oh, there's a salute. Yep. Oh, yep. Just off to nowhere. Okay. I want to point out, you see that gentleman with the bald head that's leaving the stage with him? I believe that's the Secret Service. Now, if you ever listen to Dan Bongino, he's an ex-Secret Service member. You are not supposed to see things like that. You're not supposed to see a Secret Service member on camera, generally. And that's according to him, who did that under Barack Obama, did that under Trump, I believe, or maybe Biden, Bush's as well. He had done it for a long time. That's what I'm trying to say. And he says that this is not supposed to happen. And basically, these people are there to signal where he's supposed to go. Mind you, the president is briefed in detail by the Secret Service for security reasons on which part of the stage to leave, exactly where to go, how to do it, step by step. he can't do it, you guys. And we all saw that famous note card, right? Of him going, you need to sit here, make sure you breathe, make sure you do this or that. So we'll see what comes of it. But Joe Biden's decline, his presidency is like watching a thriller. You know, really weird. Now you bring that up, it is kind of weird, right? That all the eyes are on Joe right now, and there's not a peep coming out of Donald Trump. And we said that's exactly what Trump needs to do. We said it live during the debate night. A lot of you are asking me, what's next? What was next is, because you guys are asking, what's next? Should he announce his vice presidency? And I said, no way in hell he should not announce his vice president. No way. Let this ride out. That's what he needs to do. So we're still waiting for the George Stephanopoulos. It should be coming up here any moment now. We'll make sure we bring that to you live the second that it does. This could be it right here. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone, on this momentous evening. I'm Juju Chang. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Tonight, ABC News has an exclusive interview with President Joe Biden. Our George Stephanopoulos sat down with the president for his first televised interview since that poor debate performance against Donald Trump. President Biden says he is committed to staying in the race and confident that he will prevail and beat Donald Trump. The president was directly called on to answer for his faltering appearances and whether he still has the mental and physical fitness for another term in the White House. Our team is standing by, of course, for analysis, but first, let's get to the interview.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night, but your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of.
And I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days.
They just cut that?
Before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them, they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty. I guess the question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is, you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including till 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you
I didn't know
that
why.
you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may come into fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today, just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things. Restore some decency to the office, restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics, go from the middle out and the bottom up, the way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better, and unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run. But, George, I'm optimistic about this country. I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities.
What's this guy talking
this
about?
Next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people.
Wasn't the question.
We're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. The one thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Guess what? We now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No.
Oh, God.
But I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you spoke.
Keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, "You're exhausted." I said, "Look, I have medical doctors travel me everywhere. Every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go."
Karine said that he didn't see a doctor. This is a lie. Somebody's lying, either him or Karine.
Assessment of what I'm doing.
White House press secretary said he didn't see a doctor.
They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been able to read for my physicals. Yes, the answer is.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No, no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
All of us said you do, Joe.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day.
Of course you won't.
Every day I have that test.
Of course you won't, because he'll fail it.
Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to in Europe with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through that are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So
the
right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that, right?
No, I've already done it.
Because you'd fail it. You'd fail it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. For example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is, all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
Because Joe Biden has a lot of character.
And we should note that ABC News offered Donald Trump the same opportunity for a one-on-one interview, and he declined.
Oh.
We'll have more of George Stephanopoulos' exclusive interview with President Biden in just 60 seconds. Stay with us.
We'll still carry it, folks. We will be here for the Joe Biden interview still with George Stephanopoulos. Folks, we are over at Rumble. We are over on Twitter. We are everywhere, folks. Would love for you to join us. If you don't have it already, folks, you got to pick up that Rumble. You got to follow over at Rumble if you haven't already. Make sure to download the Rumble app. Once you download it, search for my channel, Bald Brad, which I put in the link, and follow the channel directly on the app. This will make sure that you get a notification every time we go live, which we do a show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If there's fun events like this, we make sure to cover it here live on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. Click the link in the description right now. It's also pinned in the live chat for you, and the Rumble app on your phone. It's free. You don't have to pay a dime. And if you prefer to watch anything on Rumble, including the Bald Brad Show, you can watch it on the big screen. It's also available for Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku, LG, and Samsung TV. All you need to do is search for Rumble. Make sure you follow us over there. We'd love your support. Nonetheless, here we go.
George Stephanopoulos' exclusive interview with President Joe Biden.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because, George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I'd go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
What'd you do?
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted
Inflation's
felon.
still up.
Yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen.
He was
We're
up in
gonna
the
win.
polls in 2020
We did
like
better
every
in all
poll.
three than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, sure I had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world, like keeping NATO together, like working... Anyway. But look...
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind, CBS poll and NBC, and...
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind the popular vote.
That's exactly right.
Nice save, George.
New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the Electoral College.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong.
But they do when they
It's
talk
wrong.
about Donald Trump. Gotcha.
Look, Trump is a pathological liar.
So are you, asshole.
Trump is, he is. Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, who lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the health care provisions we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that. I understand that's why you want to stay in the race. But have you convinced yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came out and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race, the Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time than that with Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors. I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do? I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen. What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
Ooh.
You saw it today. How many people do you get draw crowds like I drew today? You find me more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
He can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who does he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days.
I don't think you want to play the crowd game with Donald Trump.
We have over 1 million individual contributors. Less than $200. Yeah, I mean,
what the hell's he
I've
talking
not
about?
seen what you're proposing.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
So much to analyze. And so for more insight on this interview, we're joined now by contributing political correspondent Rachel Bade, who's also author of the Politico Playbook. Rachel, thanks for joining us.
I would be here.
I know that every source you have in Washington is...
Was that the interview? That was it? We'll stick around for a little bit, folks. We'll talk. We'll stick around and see if they come back. It's supposed to be a 30-minute slot. I mean, really, it wasn't even 30 minutes. We're at 52. It probably started more at 35. So realistically, he did about a 20-minute interview. That was it. And you know what? Hey, I got it. Well, I'll keep this going, and we'll see. If you enjoyed what you're seeing so far, follow us over at Rumble, Twitter, YouTube. We're everywhere. We have a normal show, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single morning. We go live, give you conservative thought, conservative values, going over major headlines, folks, calling out the hypocrisy of the media. Wow. You know what? George Stephanopoulos didn't do too bad, actually. I got to give it to him. He didn't deviate from the points. He saved him one time because Joe Biden couldn't remember the polls, which weren't really favoring him. So he saved him there. But outside of that, honestly, I'm actually pretty impressed. Now, Joe did look good, but we expected him to look good. That wasn't anything out of the realm of something normal in terms of the media setting him up to make him look good. You know, they painted him up. He looked a little orange. The mortician, sometimes when you're laying there on the gurney, right, at the cemetery, in the morgue, you're the dead body, you're pale. Yeah, they mess up the paint sometimes. And they messed up on Joe. Joe looked really off right there. Let me know in the live chat now. I'm right there with you. What'd you guys think? Let's do a poll. Let's do a poll. How did Joe do? I'm just going to put good, and I'm going to put bad. And we'll do the poll. That poll is over at YouTube, but I don't know if I can do a poll on Rumble. I'm kind of scared to mess with anything here. Do you guys think also, everybody's put, yeah, just write good or bad in the live chat in Rumble. Let us, oh, everyone's saying bad. Holy lordy. Wow, not even close. Okay. 6% right now says good. 5% is going down. Now, some people I can imagine saying good. For Joe, it was probably a good interview. Do you know what I mean? He got lost at times. He did forget. Really weird in the sense of when you're in the position that Joe Biden's in and you're given a question, based on him and his situation, he needs to be very accurate in his answers of those questions and not act like a politician and deviate away from that, because it just makes him look worse. So that definitely was the end of the interview. I mean, that was it. So we brought it to you live, folks. There's nothing else after. They're doing some really other stuff, talking to White House correspondents and everything like that. So 94% plus the others on Rumble and Twitter are saying that it was a bad interview. Oh, what is going on here?
The president, of course, has said.
Okay. So I thought they brought it back, but it wasn't anything. So that's the poll, man. Everyone's saying bad dude. They have no choice but to actually interview him. They all see the signs, and he has to go. Who are they going to replace him with? Kamala Harris sucks. Her poll numbers are bad. Gavin Newsom destroyed the state of California. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but he's the one that's going to have to leave. And there's a reason why our show was titled today Over My Dead Body, or over My Dead Body, because Joe's dead and they ain't going to allow him to do it. So Hunter and Jill are wanting him to stay in the race, man. And somebody put in a great point in the chat. Does he want to stay in to potentially pardon Hunter? Even though he said he wasn't going to, but I think he will. A lot of people are still saying bad as usual. Everybody's saying bad. All right. Dang, lost my stylist while voting. Well, I see a QQ, and you're probably going to say bad. Everybody else is in here with, in the agreement. God, I'm telling you guys, I don't sit there. I'm not kissing your ass. We have the best audience, man. We're all patriots, independent. We love this country. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. All of us love this country, and look at all of you, man. It's a beautiful thing. Grassroots from the bottom up. Again, we're not beholden by any corporation or any boss. There's just me, Bald Brad, and the lovely patriots in the live chat across Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube. You all thought it was a bad interview. Any highlights for you guys? I thought it was interesting how he was calling out Donald Trump for lying when Joe Biden himself lied multiple times. This is the guy that said under his watch, nobody had died, except 13 service members were blown up in Afghanistan, Joe. We had service members being attacked by the Iranian-backed Houthi group in Iraq. Joe Biden, just for everybody out there, I'll give you something that nobody's talking about right here. And it's going to be so crazy that you guys are going to think I'm making it up. Joe Biden, right now, is giving the Taliban $40 to $87 million a week. Let that one sink in. But don't worry, he's not funding terrorism. He's not funding our enemies. He's literally giving the Iranians $9 to $10 billion. And they're saying it's a fungible money that they can only spend on humanitarian aid. Oh, really? The leading sponsor of terrorism that's going after our merchant vessels literally 2 weeks ago blew up a merchant vessel and is now down at the bottom of the ocean. Joe Biden's still willing to give them $10 billion. In the same way Barack Obama, when he was president, gave them $1 billion cash. Where do you think that money went? Joe Biden left billions of dollars of military-grade equipment in Afghanistan. It was a terrible pullout. You had people falling from the sky. I mean, don't forget, they should replay. That's what Donald Trump should do, is replay that video of people falling from the sky. There's actual body cam footage of the explosion itself that took place in there. Mind you, there's a great interview with the Sean Ryan show of one of the Marines that was blown up at Abbey Gate. So, botch thing, that is not somebody you want as a commander-in-chief, and it is rightfully said that Donald Trump was going to pull out, but Donald Trump was going to pull out with provisions, and they had to make sure they had certain things in line for him to do so. And there was that famous interview that just came out recently where he met with the leaders, And Donald Trump said, basically, I'm paraphrasing, if you fuck with us, I'm going to kill you, and handed over a picture of the dude's house and walked out of the interview. Totally badass. You know Joe Biden's not doing anything like that. Was it $1 million or $1 billion? Well, it depends what you're talking about. So I see Miriam in the chat. Miriam's a longtime viewer of the Ball Brad Show. We love you, sister. 40 to 87 million with an M is going to the Taliban every single week. 10 billion with a B is going to the Iranians as allegedly humanitarian aid, where allegedly they get to pick what they want, and then the vendors are going to be utilized by the United States to bring in that humanitarian aid. We don't believe that for many reasons, but also because when it's fungible, what you could do is, if before, let's say previously, Miriam, you were having $1,000 in your budget catered towards, I don't know, I'm going to say groceries. And then I come along and say, Miriam, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you $1,000. Well, the $1,000 that you originally had budgeted for groceries, now you're going to sit there and disperse that $1,000 somewhere else in your budget. And the Iranians are going to do the exact same thing where, hey, we had 10 billion planned for terrorism. Sweet. No longer do we need that humanitarian aid. We could just sit there and use that 10 billion now for something else, like more terrorism. So they're giving them that. Barack Obama gave them 10 billion with a B dollars cash in pallets. And that wasn't even fungible. That was just straight cash. Mind you, Joe Biden's also given them 10 billion for the release of hostages. This guy has given billions of dollars to terrorism or terrorist-backed proxy groups, and nobody's talking about it. He's a terrible president, and people actually want 4 more years of Joe Biden. That's the remarkable thing. 4 more years of Joe. Many of you don't know this, but I was a public accountant previously. I don't do public accounting anymore. Mind you, I didn't even spend that long in public accounting, but I did do assurance advisory and a tax accountant. Donald Trump's tax cut saved Americans on average about 3%, okay? Very good on what he did on restructuring, taking your personal exemption, having it flow in your standard deduction. Joe Biden is going to remove your deductions. He's going to remove your credits. You're going to owe $500 to $3,500 more under Joe Biden. On top of the fact, inflation's still up. It was 1.4% when he took office. It spiked to a 40-year high of 9.1, and now it's at like 3.4, 3.3. So George Stephanopoulos did lie when he goes, well, inflation's down. No, it's not. Since he took office, it is still up. Now, I understand what they mean by it going down. It's in a downwards trajectory. But when you look at the holistic view of inflation, a lot of your prices are up 20 to 40%. I mean, it is boggling the mind. You look at your insurance rates, those went through the roof. But don't worry, he beat Big Pharma. Really, why don't you sit there and beat the oil prices that we're having to pay at the pump, man? I've always said to the viewers, whenever you go to the gas station, which all of us do, just look around at the pumps and see how much people are filling their cars. We're all hurting. People can't fill their tanks, Joe. They can't. A box of cereal, $6 fucking, Joe. I don't mean to cuss, but I'm gonna get pissed. You guys know I get a little riled up in here every now and then. But dude, when people are impacted, when Americans, the country that I love and the citizens that I love as well, the patriots, we're all going to the grocery store and we're getting reamed. And there was a Democrat that was interviewed recently, a citizen, and somebody was asked, oh, would you vote for Joe again? Yeah, the answer was with a couple. Well, it doesn't matter how high inflation is. Cool, so screw the rest of us that struggle paying our bills already. Energy prices are through the roof because Joe Biden wanted to remove the fossil fuel industry, so nobody wants to drill. Furthermore, he's telling everybody, you all remember this, he told everybody, well, when gas prices were too high, go buy an electric vehicle. Remember when Janet Yellen said that? Everybody's complaining about gas prices being too high because they're too high. They're like $7 in California where I live, a gallon. And nobody can afford gas. And so when nobody can afford gas and groceries and rent and all these things, because COVID just happened, they lost their jobs and all these other things, he's going to go tell people to buy a $60,000 vehicle? Are you stupid, Joe? God, I'm telling you, this president just drives me up a wall, man. And people are going to vote out. They're going to show up in the millions, man. They're going to show up in the millions. Folks, we're not going to talk about a red wave here on the Ball Brad Show. We don't talk red waves. Sorry. We're going out to the polls, man. We're going out and voting this November. I don't care what happens. I don't care if Donald Trump's up like 50 points, some stupid number. No. We're all showing up, baby. If you got grandma that can't walk, you got to carry her. Okay? None of this of like, oh, figure it out, blah, blah, blah. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're winning. Folks, they did that with Hillary Clinton. The Democrats screwed up. They did that with Hillary. Remember, Hillary was up in the polls. Remember that night in 2016? Oh, Hillary's going to walk out, the winning candidate, blah, blah, blah. She got her ass kicked. Partly to do because she's terrible, but also partly because Democrats didn't show up to the polls because there's no massive universal mail-in balloting. Remember, everything the Democrats did in 2020 to get Joe Biden elected, vote from properties that don't exist, fill out registration forms that weren't even from the person that's filling them out, signing off on other people's voter registration forms on behalf of some other person, maybe a relative, all this stuff, they're going to do it again, you guys. They're going to do everything they did in 2020 again. Why? Because they never got in trouble for doing for it in the first place. It never was investigated. Nobody looked under the hood. Everything they did, they're going to try again. And that's why we got to show up, folks. There's going to be some foozery going on. And we did a speculation during, I think, this morning episode where we talked about the fact of this October surprise. Everybody's talking about an October surprise. Could be a terrorist attack. It could be a dirty bomb going off with all these people funneling through our southern border. We don't know what it's going to be, but here's something that nobody's talking about. What if the October surprise is Joe dropping out? What are you going to do when the guy goes, he's being chauffeured out, right? He's drooling from a drip tray. He looks like Jimmy Carter. He's just, that's Joe. Like a mix between Jimmy Carter and Mitch McConnell. Like, what are you going to chauffeur the guy out to run? What do you do? That could be an October surprise where now the election is like, they already have the ballots printed out, right? People already did early voting in September and it's now October and the guy's dropping out. What do? You got a cluster bleep now. Now we got to print a bunch of ballots. Shoot, we got to push back the election. What's going on? A lot of stuff here can happen in the next 4 months before the election, folks. And you're damn right. We're going to make sure we bring you all the news. We'll bring you everything you need to know here on the Bald Brad Show. We always show you the major headlines. We always give you a conservative take. And we also bring you the news in a shape and form that, quite frankly, is not censored. We say what we want to say here. We say what we want to say in the chat. And let me tell you, we say what we think so much so that we get shadow banned on YouTube, which is why we're trying to grow here on Rumble. And you guys even get your comments deleted by YouTube. You write to me all the time, and you leave it in the comment section, the one that actually do make it through. So it says, we are more effed than you currently. So Shib's in the UK, folks. And the Labour Party had a landslide win in the UK. Have fun with that socialism, Shib. To put that in perspective, you guys, so there's a Conservative Party, and Shib, correct me if I'm wrong, because half my family's in the United Kingdom. My father's actually he's a legal immigrant. Green card came the right way. He's from Lewisham in the UK. The Labour Party is basically our progressive left. Like, they are further left than the Democrat Party here, where the Conservative Party is very similar to what you would see with the Republican Party. Well, conservatives had a tough time these last few years. I gotta be honest with my crowd here, Shib. Conservatives didn't really do too well of running the UK, but the Labour Party won. And when you hear about ESG scores, social, environmental, and governance score, that's basically what they're going to do. And he's already said he's going to try to electrify the United Kingdom, right? It's going to be the cleanest you've ever been. When you hear those words, you should be scared, because they're basically going to try to do what Joe Biden's doing of making you drive an electric vehicle, get wind turbines everywhere, don't actually drill, baby, drill. So good luck over there, Shib, because you're going to have a fucking long time here. And hopefully we don't go the same direction that you're going. No, they failed miserably. Poor Shib, man. We got a lot of people that watch in Australia, the UK. We got people all around the United States that joining us live right here for the Bald Brad Show. Stephanopoulos works for the Clintons. Yes. Except you said Snepolopoulos. I get what you did there. Yeah. So, but I'll be fair. I thought he actually did better during the interview than I first thought. And a lot of people thought that Jake Tapper and Dana Bush, during the debate did well. I don't think people actually hounded them as hard as I thought they were going to. I don't think Jake Tapper and Dana did that great of a job during the debate. For CNN, sure, we could say that. But if you look at a lot of the way the questions were proposed, they were negative questions about January 6th, right? Mr. President, you're labeled a felon now. All these things. Where was the questions about the Hunter Biden laptop? Where was the questions that were followed up during the debate about Joe Biden lying the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real? Where's the whole fact that he pushed the Russia hoax? Like, if you notice, there was no real negative questions that were in the same level that were catered towards Donald Trump as to Joe Biden. So it's just a remarkable thing that nobody's calling that out. We'll call it out here on the show because I thought it was BS. So if you want to keep going, let's keep going, folks. It looks like a lot of you are having some fun in the live chat. You're having a good damn time. Maybe some of you are having a drink. Maybe some of you are having a cup of coffee. We have our own website, baldbrad.com, with look at that American flag on the back, man. It doesn't look any beautiful. We got merchandise. We got it all. We do have a website, folks. And I might as well plug it. If you guys are readers, we did write a book. It's been 1 year since it came out, called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It's on Kindle. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart. It's on sale right now on Amazon. I don't have any control over that. I can't believe the sale that they're doing. It's over 20% off. I was like, wait, I'm losing money. Stop it. So I would say pick it up now because I haven't seen it go any higher than 21% off. A great book. It takes you through the metaphor of the Trojan War, where the Greeks put in a wooden horse in the city of Troy, one of the greatest cities on earth. And we use it as a metaphor of this ideology of the Democrat Party and progressive left utilize racism, climate change, Black Lives Matter, all this BS. And they're using this ideology to destroy the United States from the inside out in the same way the Trojan horse was a gift. It was a metaphor that destroyed the city of Troy from the inside out with an army inside. And so we walk you through critical race theory. We walk you through abortion. Hell, we go far back. I walk you through the entire outlook of the history of the United States. We have a lot of great stuff in there. We debunk the idea that the police are murdering Black people in the streets, like they're hunting them down, which is a great chapter because I'm a statistician. So I take you through the statistics on it. Folks, we have 60 years of research on that chapter in terms of police brutality. So make sure you check that out. It's a great book, timely book, and hell, it will equip you to fight, grandma, grandpa, crazy aunt, uncle, maybe all these snowflake millennials at some dinner parties coming up. You're going to owe them money. Johnny, it's not about hope. It's about action. Trump can't do it alone. We all have to do our part by voting in every election, especially local. That is exactly correct. It says state police there. Appreciate it. We love the police here. As I've always said, if there's ever a police officer, or office woman, whatever you want to call them, in a Starbucks or whatever, buy them a cup of coffee, folks. They put their lives on the line to protect us, and a lot of people give them shit, especially from the Democrat Party. And we love our men and women in not only uniform, in the service of the military, but also our local police departments. Take care of them. Buy them dinner. Buy them whatever the hell they want. Aren't we responsible for working and paying? It's blocked for me. Paying our taxes, I think it says. And paying our taxes. Yeah, we're responsible. That is correct. We do not need to drain the swamp. Oh, we do need to drain the swamp. I was like, whoa, yeah, we do, Russell. I was like, whoa, we need to drain the swamp, but that's something that Trump promised he didn't really do. And I think his cabinet's going to be a little bit different. Let's talk about this one. Who do you guys want as vice president? Because that's going to be coming up here soon. Now, not a bad hold off from Trump, right? We said there's a good call on Trump to be quiet after the debate because we need to let the media do its job of actually calling out Joe Biden for his cognitive decline. So good on him for postponing. It's supposed to be last week from what I heard, the VP pick. But who do you guys want as Trump's VP pick? Throw it in the chat here. Again, we are live on Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. I'm monitoring all chats here. So again, I see all of you in the live chat. We got hundreds of people with us. We are currently over 1,000 people watching the Bald Brad Show right now. Again, this is kind of a special episode. We normally go live at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single morning. We will be live tomorrow covering what you just saw, but also covering his rally and all this other blunders from the Biden administration. So some people are saying Ben Carson, not a bad pick. I'll get to who I want. People are saying Vivek. You guys are so ridiculous. I've always said this is why I can't read the live chat when I do the show. If you guys don't know my personality, I am very animated on the show. Behind closed doors, I'm a very big introvert. Like I'm like a mute. I don't talk that much. I stick to myself. I read books. I watch a lot of politics, but I don't really hang out with that many people. I have a very close group of friends. But I laugh at everything, and it comes across as fake, but I'm telling you, I laugh at everything, and it's really tough because some people write in the chat, oh, that's such a fake laugh. No, that's just really who I am, and it's got me in trouble at times, like big trouble. Somebody saying, Byron Donalds. Byron's great, man. All the VP possibilities are great. Give Brad a thumbs up before you leave. Love that, Lily. Thank you, Lily. Always having my back. I appreciate that. You Patriots have my 6. A lot of people are saying Ben Carson, really? Where was the Ben Carson a week ago when I asked you guys? Nobody's writing Ben before. All right, well, you got look, a lot of it back. See, look at more Ben Carson. Where's the swing on this? Have you guys always been for Ben? Because you weren't writing this last week. My pick is Vivek, and I want to explain why. The reason why is Vivek is young, okay? The dude is smarter than heck. And Donald Trump talks in terms of very holistic, very broad view kind of ideas. Nothing wrong with that. The reason why is you can basically reach everybody with talking in a very big picture. But Donald Trump is not very good at detailing that picture out step by step to people that want it. So you got to be able to reach everybody. Now, he is But for the people that need that detail of how you're actually going to do this, which I'm one of those, by the way, that's where Vivek comes into place. And Vivek is very great. Like, oh, how are you going to get rid of the FBI? Perfect. Well, what we're going to do is through the executive branch, we're going to take those FBI agents that are bad, and we're going to dissolve the entire bureau, and we're going to siphon them off into like the marshals. We'll also maybe throw some in the Department of Homeland Security because they need extra help. We might transfer some to the border to figure out some administration issues. Like, he has a very detailed plan on how he's going to execute his actual ideology. And I think he can do a fabulous job of supporting Trump in that in the way that Mike Pence was never able to do. I love Ben, but I don't think Ben is enough of that spunk. I don't think he's youthful enough to be able to carry the message of Donald Trump in a way that needs to. A lot of people are saying JD Vance. I still don't know much about JD Vance, so I'm going to reserve my opinion on him. I know that I should be up to speed, but there's a lot of news coming out with Joe Biden, and I've been kind of hammered trying to just make sure I meet the demand of covering that news. Marjorie Taylor Greene, too much. Too much for Marjorie and Boebert. Beautiful women, too vocal. We can only have one Donald Trump in office, folks. That's why I said I don't even think Ron DeSantis would be a good VP pick, because he's too much like Donald Trump when he's speaking to the media. We need somebody that can push back, but do it in a way that's, it's going to sound really bad when I say this, almost manipulating people by it's like a backhanded, how do I put it? You're basically being an a-hole to them, but doing it in a very kind way. So I think Vivek can do that, if that makes sense. Byron's great, and I appreciate you guys throwing that in the chat. I do think JD Vance, from what you guys are telling me, might be a good pick. I got nothing against Ben Carson. The dude's a freaking whiz. No, I'm surprised nobody's saying Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio supposedly it. I've heard a lot of rumblings that Marco Rubio is the VP pick for Trump. And the reason for that is because the main issue for the country right now is illegal immigration. And so when you have somebody up there that could speak to Hispanics, Latinos, Mexicans, all those people that are coming through, and mind you, that's not the only people that are coming through. Let me be clear on that. There's about 190 something nations that are flowing through our southern border. So it's not just Hispanics. It's not just all those people. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of them here as well, and that he can sit there and have those people transferred over through speaking their language and their culture and all those other things. So that's kind of like the idea behind it. So I want to be clear. Somebody like, well, Brad, that's racist. You're just saying it's Mexicans and Latinos and Hispanics coming through. No, it's not. It's a lot of Chinese nationals. A lot of them were just deported last week. So there's a lot of people pouring across the border, including we have over 1,000 terrorists in the country. Brad, where are you getting that number from? The CIA. Yeah, no, the CIA, they come out. Yeah, check the Sean Ryan podcast. The CIA has come out and said there's over 1,000 terrorists in this country present time. Let that one sink in. And some of them we know about. Some of them are actually from Benghazi. Let that one sink in. This is going to sound so crazy. Things are so wild right now that when you speak about it, it's so insane that it actually sounds like satire, and it sounds like you're pulling it out of your ass as you're saying it, but it's not. There's people from Benghazi. There's also terrorists that have committed murder in other countries, and they're supposed to be held on trial, that they're getting a safe haven here in the United States, and Joe Biden's allowing it to happen. Wild stuff, man. In the same way, I bet you a lot of people didn't know that we're giving the Taliban $40 to $87 million. A lot of people didn't know that. Here's another one to throw at you. Chicago is giving illegal immigrants, in terms of services and money, $84,000 a year. Yes, you might have spit out your coffee just now, or you might have gotten in a car accident when I said that. Joe Biden and his party, the Democrat Party, specifically Chicago, in terms of services and aid being given to illegal immigrants, is $84,000 per illegal immigrant. Let that one sink in, folks. Oh, yeah. Whose money is that? Your money. Let's talk about New York City. Mayor Eric Adams. Mayor Eric Adams is building these encampments for these illegal immigrants. You're paying for their schooling. You're paying for their transportation. You're paying for their legal services. We had video that was taken down by YouTube that showed they're getting Xboxes, plasma TVs, coffee tables. They're giving laundry services. They're getting full air conditioning, bedding, clothing. They had rugs, sofas. They're getting 3-course meal that was catered to their specific culture of the country they're coming from. These people are getting rental assistance. They're kicking out veterans out of hotel rooms that fought in Afghanistan and Iraq and throwing them on the street, but replacing them with people from actually Afghanistan and Iraq. We got a lot of new people, which is why we're throwing out a lot of disinformation. I'm telling you, folks, that's why you want to join us at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single morning. We bring you the real news. We bring you a swath of things. It's not like what you see from the Daily Wire or these other outlets where they kind of hone in on a theme. We go over a lot of different news because I think it's important that you see what news is out there. And if you want to do a deep dive into it, you could do that kind of on your own time, or you write in the live chat, Brad, can you break that down a little bit further? More than happy to do that for all of you. Meanwhile, our citizens are homeless. Lily, this is what you get with Democrats. They love it. They love the homeless. They love keeping people on what I call the metaphorical plantation. They've always been this way. The Democrat Party has never shifted. Before it was a physical plantation, right? Democrats were the party of slavery. You know, when we ever go to school, right? Oh, it's the North versus the South. We talk about it in the book. That's one thing I break down in my book, Trojan Horse, is that whole idea of the Civil War and how people through critical race theory nowadays are being indoctrinated to believe that it was the Republican Party in terms of the North versus the South, when ideally it was the Republican North that was fighting the Democrat North and the Democrat South in the Civil War to defeat slavery. But they don't teach you. It's just North versus South. Yeah. The Republicans are the racists. We're the bigots. They've always been the party of the Klan. They've always been the party of slavery. They were never the party of civil rights that's taught in school. If you didn't have the votes from the Republican Party, you wouldn't have the civil rights that we had in 1964. You wouldn't have any of that movement. Everything that's pretty much positive in terms of a holistic view is really catered towards the Republican Party in terms of creating this great country that we have. But for some reason, they talk about a big switch. Talk about a big switch. We talk about that in the book. I'm telling you, it's a great book. Yeah, there you go. Lily B said, great book. If you haven't read it, thank you, Lily. I know Pat says the same thing. Shiv bought it. I appreciate that. Let's see what you guys are writing in the chat over here. I see ya. In the back of my mind, I knew, but the numbers are infuriating. Yeah. Brad, bring in the receipt. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I must be getting hot in the closet because Brad is starting to sweat a little bit. You guys can see me sweating? We have that good of quality? Rumble has that good of quality, huh? You guys can see. Pat, you are right. It's freaking hot in here. One, it's already hot in my area, right? It was like 90 today. But you're right. I'm sweating. This is what we do for you guys. Yeah, I'm in shorts and a shirt, and it's bad. It's disgusting. Because it's small in here. It might look big. I'm touching both walls. We're doing it in a closet, folks. It sounds bad. Oh, I love hanging out with you guys. This is so awesome. This is so awesome. I'm telling you, man, our community we have is freaking great. It's never going to change. Now they're MAGA. What are the improvement? Yep. It's awesome. 4K. We're in 4K. Jeez Louise, man. I need to pull back from the camera. Then I want you guys to see all my blemishes. My gray hair. Well, we'll be back here tomorrow, folks, for more Bald Brad. I will go live. I want to cover a lot of what Joe Biden talked about in the rally, call out his lies and his bullshit. And we'll also be potentially live on Sunday. And obviously, we're going to be live Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be here sharp. Join us by hitting that follow button. We do have a membership. Take the memberships over at Rumble. You guys, screw YouTube at this point. We got a lot of members. We got a lot of members on YouTube, and I would love for you guys to transfer those memberships over to Rumble. One, YouTube takes a big portion of your money, and now that we're set up on Rumble and they're taking care of us over there, would love to transfer the membership over there because it actually goes more into supporting the show, and we don't want to give any money to YouTube, so we're trying to make our platform more so over at Rumble. With that being said, folks, thank you so much. You watching is just what you need to do. Thank you so much for always supporting me, and I got nothing else. So have a great night. Have a blessed evening, folks. Tell your friends and family you love them. And if you haven't told your mom or dad that you love them in a while, make sure you give them a call. And with that being said, folks, I will see you later here on The Bald Brad Show.